For our next fireside chat, please welcome Ron Johnson, CEO of Enjoy, to the stage for a conversation with Courtney.
Welcome back.
Wow, big crowd.
I know, it is a big crowd. Hard to see, though. It's out there. Okay, Ron, welcome.
Thank you.
So I think maybe not everyone knows what Enjoy is or does. So go ahead and explain a little bit about what Enjoy is.
Yeah, thank you, Courtney. We believe the world's in the early days of digital commerce. When I was at Apple, I worked at Apple for like a dozen years, and there was one store we had in London that the same landlord had leased that building for 1,000 years. And so people have been trying to figure out, how do I create great stores for a long time? We're 20 years since Amazon really got e-commerce started with books in 1994. And we look at the world of digital commerce that it's really geared toward convenience in its early efforts. It's about ordering from any device, it's about fast delivery, and getting a product to the door. And a lot of the growth has come not from assortment expansion, it's from logistics. Now you can order from Amazon, and in 2 hours, for millions of customers, have a product at your door. But if you look at the world of physical stores, which most of us are in or come from, many stores compete on service. For every Best Buy, there's an Apple store. For every Target, there's a Nordstrom. And so how do you deliver service for someone who wants to start online? So we call our platform personal commerce to differentiate from electronic commerce. And we think it's a third platform for commerce going forward. So when you buy from Enjoy, you order a product, and then you pick a time and place, and one of our trained experts, who are all employees trained with the company, will hand deliver the product wherever you want, your home, your office, a coffee shop, a park, just like Uber. It's a precise time, no delivery window. And then they'll spend an hour with you, not just setting it up, but creating an experience that makes you fall in love with that product.
And the products are drones,
Yeah, it's
cameras.
anything consumer electronics. So if you're an Apple person, you want a new iPhone, you want an iPad and figure out the new pencil. We'll deliver your iPad Pro, and we'll download all the software, connect it to all your devices, but spend time with the magic of, how do I draw? How do I use that pencil, which is a new interface? So the magic is the experience. Now, you might say, how do you do it? Well, it's free. So we do this for the same price you pay at Best Buy, the Apple Store, Amazon. And the reason is because we do things differently. We don't build stores, we just hire people. And you can deliver a trained person a lot less expensive than you can build a store. So we work off the same margin of physical store, but we have a different model. And we believe the way the world's going, where people want to work mobily. 2 years ago, 20% of the Apple Store employees left to go drive for Uber or run errands for Postmates. The reality, a lot of people working in stores, they want freedom.
Right.
They've got another interest. They want to be a musician. They want to be an artist, but they need income. That's why they drive for Uber. Well, we give them that benefit because they name their own hours, even though they're employed.
And they're salaried as well.
They're all
is that right?
salaried, but they go into our app, they pick their hours, they're trained. When you order a product, we look at who's trained, available nearby, match, and we're now on 4 hours. We think we'll be at 2 hours as we move into holiday next year. So we can deliver a person for free in 2 hours. We'll spend an hour with you, helping you out. Now that's just an example of personal commerce. It's how do you deliver service for someone who buys online. It'll only work for important purchases that have the right economics. So consumer electronics, when you have a $1,000 item, and you take the margin on that, you can afford to deliver a person. High-end apparel, healthcare. Now you can start to imagine what categories, but just like retail, there's specialists and mass. We're kind of on the specialty side where your purchase really matters.
And you've been doing this publicly for about a year, give or take.
Yeah.
And so how has it gone so far? Tell us about the number of visits, satisfaction, run us through some metrics.
Like every startup, the early days, it's just about learning. So our 1-year anniversary was a week ago, May 6th. And what we learned in the first year, number one, it appeals to everybody. This is not about technophobes or old folks. This is young millennial guys, it's women, it's people that are in this delivery culture that want help, but they also want it now. So speed matters. When we started, we didn't know, well, I'm getting a new Mac. Next weekend's fine. No, they want it today. Half the time, they pick our next available appointment.
Why? Oh, go ahead.
Secondly, it's easy to find people to work in these jobs. People love freedom and working mobily. They like being on a team. They like learning new things. So that's been easy. We've been early 97 out of 100 visits. And we measure our time. We have to be there 5 minutes early because we think one of the enemies of delivery is this window. And so we've got to be on time. And we get our top bar score out of a review. 49% of the time, customers give us feedback when we ask for it. We get a top level score of 5, 97 out of 100 visits. So we've got pretty good quality. But I keep telling my team, what's not to like? A nice person who's trained, delivers it to you wherever you want for free, spends an hour, you're going to give them a great score. So like the Apple Store Genius Bar, we designed a business model that assures quality, right? How do we turn it up a notch? How do we create real magic through experience? That's what we're working on now. So we've learned a lot. It's early days, but like I tell my team, Uber was in one city its first year. It was in San Francisco. Well, we started in 2. Uber went to 7 cities year 2. Well, we're going to be expanding for back to school. We'll be in 10 cities. We'll be in Miami, Atlanta, Dallas, Houston, New York, Chicago, San Francisco, LA, Orange County, San Jose. So we're in that, like any startup, it takes time to build a business, and you want to take your time because you want to learn. But I think we're off to a good start.
And it's a very labor-intensive business, obviously. You have to have experts. You have to have enough of them in every city that are proficient enough in these consumer electronics to teach someone else. Has that been a problem, trying to find the labor?
We call them experts. They're people.
Right.
I think when you think of labor, you think of economics. It's like customers, statistics. But no, it's finding people is the easiest part. We have, at this point in time, like I'm going down to Dallas tonight to start to interview people for our team there. We have over 100 applicants online for every open position. So we've invited, people to kind of come, and we'll find out who's really interested. But if you think about it, you get paid a salary, and we pay people $40,000 to $50,000 a year. You get benefits from day one. You're an owner of the company, you get stock, and you have complete freedom of when you work and how much you work.
So they're not
That's
required to work
good
a certain
job.
number of hours to make that salary?
So what they get to do is every quarter, they decide how many hours they want to work. So almost all pick full-time. So they're 40-hour employees. But they go into the schedule, and they have to be available 40 hours. And then we take on the risk that we can get enough visits during their schedule to pay them well and earn a profit. So we're taking on the risk for the economics, but they have complete freedom. And that's what I think people deserve. I challenge every retailer to figure out how to schedule better.
Right.
Why not let the employees go on the app and pick their hours? And they'll learn to do it well. Because you've got to find a way to change how you do things to attract the best people. And then for us, people love to be with whiz-bang technology. If you love connecting with people, all you do all day is go meet people in interesting places. You go to parks and you make movies with GoPro cameras. You fly drones, in Central Park. It's kind of a nice way to spend your day versus sitting cleaning out the fitting room. So it's a really fun job.
How are you getting the word out? How are people finding out about Enjoy?
Well, we're intentionally not.
Okay, because?
It turns out, for all of you who have been in e-commerce, the biggest challenge to e-commerce is acquiring customers is prohibitively expensive. And even you look at companies like Uber, their acquisition costs way exceed the profit they earn. Airbnb. And so we have this other little secret. We actually work directly with manufacturers, and a customer can pick hand delivery with expert help from their website, from their homepage. So we started a year ago with AT&T. We're fully integrated into the AT&T enterprise, and so we're their smartphone partner. And we're doing the same with many, many manufacturers. So we're just being patient. We get a customer when someone goes to Sonos.com and says, I'd love my new Sonos set up by 2 o'clock today. then once we deliver an experience, we can invite them back to our website to learn what else can I enjoy. So we're patiently building all the APIs and the integration that lets us help companies compete differently. And then we will, and it's no different than Amazon. So Amazon, if you go back to the 90s, what did they do? They ran the website for Target. They ran the website
for a long time,
Toys R Us.
actually.
They did that to build scale. Now, eventually, those companies built their own websites, but Amazon became its own brand. Same with Enjoy. You know, we want to be known 20 years from now. When you think of personal service online, that's Enjoy. When you think of digital commerce, that's Amazon. You know, it's going to take a long time. We're like 1995 when Amazon had been selling books. You know, early days.
Did JCPenney teach you a lesson in patience? It seems like
It
you're
did, it
being
did.
slower and
Yeah, I learned the
patient.
big lesson from, I knew it because there's nothing good ever happened overnight. When we were at Target, it took a long time to have that first Michael Graves collection till people really saw Target as a place where I could get pretty good design or taste level products. At Apple, the first stores weren't very successful. It took years till the stores broke even though now they're looked at as pretty successful. But when I got to Penny's, I had a choice because I was told people wanted to change, but the truth is nobody wanted to change. You know, the team there was very comfortable with their place in the market. They felt like they had survived the department. They were the champion of the lower income, middle income customer. Macy's had the high end. They were on top of the world. Why do we need to change, you know? And so then the choice is you either ease in and you take forever and you do nothing, or you jumpstart change. And truth be told, we went way too fast. Customers, investors, board members, it's one of those mistakes. I still think if we had continued on, the company would have done better than this painful U-turn, you know, where they're still fighting to try to grow from a new low base, find a customer that's, you know, not shopping that much.
right.
You know, I think trying to get a younger customer is a good idea, but we went too fast. And so here I constantly remember that lesson about just don't get over your skis, you know.
And what about the team members that are working with you? I know that was a big lesson from JCPenney. You have to pick the right people.
Well, yeah, but see, the problem with Penny's, I didn't change people.
And you're saying you should have.
Well, I don't know what I should have done, but I didn't want to change people's lives who had worked there forever. And I had this confidence that the right idea would win. And if it was the right idea, they would get on board. You know, that turned out to probably be a mistake because you have too many people fighting you all the time. When you do a startup, you hire people one at a time. Like we just heard, you enter different challenges as you grow. We're going to be at 210 employees in about a month.
Wow.
You know, so we're growing at a nice rate. But I still know everybody by name. It's easy. But I get to handpick people.
So what are you looking for?
We look for people that are winners. You know, if you've worked with a winner, you kind of know how. We look for people that are interesting. To me, that's more interesting than diversity. Interesting could come from their diversity, but it comes really from how they think, what they've done in their past. We look for smart people, and then we look for really good team players. No ego. You know, we don't want any people with big egos. It makes it kind of hard.
Do you think that this model could be easily replicated by someone else? What about Geek Squad?
You know, I think there are, when I think of personal commerce, so the idea is you order digitally and you receive an experience through a person. That's what personal commerce is. SoulCycle, to me, is a personal commerce platform. I go on my phone, I pick my class, I pick my bike, I pick my instructor, and my time, and I pay online. And then I show up and I have an experience, which is a whole new way to get exercise.
Right.
Right, but they're delivering an experience that starts digitally. Enjoy. I buy a product digitally, someone hand delivers, creates an experience for me wherever I want. It's the same fundamental concept. The beauty for us is I don't think we'll have electronics competitors
Okay.
because of our integration strategy. AT&T's not going to have, well, you can have delivery from Enjoy or from Happy. You know, they're going to go deep with one partner, right? So we're kind of trying to lock up the consumer electronics industry. Best Buy can't do it because they made their bet on stores. So while they have a Geek Squad that can go deliver something to you, they've got to charge $100. They got to pay for the geek. You know, their business model already paid for the store. There's not enough margin. Amazon really can't do it either. They don't make money through retail.
Right.
Now, the only reason they could do it, I believe, is because they've got such a big company that they can afford to do things for a long time that aren't profitable because it's the right thing. You know, so they're a competitor, I suppose. But I think it's hard for a physical store to compete with us. And when you have that first mover advantage, it's hard for others to get the product. Like Apple. We carry the Apple products. Apple hasn't had a new online retailer for a decade. They don't feel they need it. They've got apple.com. They've got Amazon. They've got Best Buy. You know, they've got enough. They don't need more distribution. So they're not going to let, you know, Courtney come, I've got this idea, I can do a better job than Ron, which you probably could.
No.
Or could, but I don't think you'd have a very good chance of getting through the door.
We have 20 years of experience, but largely it was at physical retailers. You had Target, Apple, you then obviously helped make the retail model that Apple had, JCPenney. No physical experience here except for going to someone's home. Do you think stores are dead? Do you think there's no place for that anymore?
Stores are exceptionally challenged. And when you look at it over the past 20 years, stores have been in relative decline. What I mean by that, if the industry is growing at 4% a year, stores are growing 2 or 3 and online's 15, but they're still growing.
Right.
When you're growing, you can earn more money, you can invest. There are many sectors now that are going into absolute decline. So the department store industry, it's all about I'm closing my unproductive stores, and it's really hard to comp. So I think what happened this last week, when Macy's and Kohl's and Penny's, in spite of a soft compare, all had negative comps.
Gap, L Brands, there are a lot.
Negative comps and closing stores. You're now in an absolute decline. Well, then you've got to reduce your headquarters. Anytime you have to start organizing headquarters, your culture becomes hard. People start to bail. The best people go to new opportunities like at a Amazon or an Enjoy or a SoulCycle. Hard to retain your people. So I think it's a very different challenge when you move into an absolute decline from a relative, I'm losing share but I'm still growing.
Right.
I think there are many segments that are going to kind of cross over into that very challenging decline period.
Best Buy CEO has been complaining for a number of quarters that there hasn't been any real innovation or newness in consumer electronics. Is that an issue for you too?
No, I don't think that's true.
You don't think it's true?
Absolutely not. I mean, drones are this huge category. Now, it's not particularly suited to Best Buy because it's pretty hard to fly a drone in a store.
True.
But that's a very high growth category, right? So I think the issue, one of the challenges for Best Buy is, well, I don't want to get into competitors, but I just think it's a challenge.
Okay, all right. So what about your?
I get carried away.
No. What about your path to profitability? Your funding has increased from $30 million to.
We raised $80 million.
$80 million.
Yeah.
And so, what's your plan going forward for your investors? What's your path?
We expect to be profitable at the market level this fall.
Oh wow.
And so the key is you got to prove profitability, right? And our belief is, I believe this last 5 years of venture capital is not sustainable, where
Okay.
people are using venture capital, your most expensive form of capital, to market.
Right.
I think you market out of cash flow you earn from operations, fundamentally. So we're not spending money on marketing, so our business model has very low market level infrastructure. We've got to maintain inventory. A lot of that's consigned from manufacturers because we represent them. We need to have a little place for our employees to meet and gather, but it can be off-peak, like our place in New York you've been.
Right.
So we've got very low cost. Our leadership structure is very low cost compared to a physical store when you have to manage inventory, front of house, back of house. We just got to maintain high quality visits. So then we just have to get enough visits per day to make the experts profitable, and we can start to.
So you have a long history in Silicon Valley. You probably have personal relationships with a lot of the folks that you're currently working with and that are helping to fund Enjoy. What about the folks in the audience that are just starting out, might have a great idea, but how are they going to get the attention of Andreessen Horowitz? What's your advice?
You just got to network. I mean, it really is about who you know and who can give credibility to you and your idea. I had the advantage, I knew people from working at Apple
Right.
and living in the Valley and volunteering at Stanford. And even though I had a really tough experience at Penny's, the investors saw that as a really good thing. Because if
'Cause
you're
you're a
an
risk
investor,
taker.
well, if you're an investor, you want someone who's failed because they don't like the taste of it. And so they're likely to, boy, next time they're going to work really hard to make sure they don't. So for me, the track record of having done some things that worked out okay, combined with a massive failure, was a good thing. Now, I wouldn't recommend you go out and fail and then raise money. But the point is, I think the only way to raise money is you got to have a great idea, you got to network, you got to figure out how do I get to the right people.
I hear the press can be hard when you make mistakes.
Yeah, but you were always good.
Thank you. I
You were always
appreciate
fair.
that. So I asked Michael before, and he didn't really have a good answer, but I feel like you might, because I think we might have talked about this before. What is the best mistake you ever made?
Best mistake I ever made. That's a good question. Yeah, it's probably going to Penny's.
Going at all?
Just going. You know, because it turned out it was a really bad decision for everybody. I was a round thing in a square peg. I'm a creative, innovator, look forward, change the world kind of thinker. That isn't who Penny's was. And so to go insert yourself in a place that's really at odds with your DNA is not a good idea. But it was incredibly humbling for me personally. I don't like to think I'm arrogant, but maybe situationally I was arrogant about things. So it was very humbling. And if I hadn't done that, I don't think I'd be doing what I'm doing now. I love what I'm doing now. I think we've got the wind at our back. It's not a strong wind, but you feel the gentle breeze of, going online, of people wanting experience. It's nice to be where the puck's going versus where it was.
Well, congratulations on your first year.
Thank you.
Hopefully we'll have you back at this conference next year and see how it goes 2 years in. Thank you so much, Ron.
Courtney.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I think we're both off.
Thank you, Ron and Courtney. Ladies and gentlemen.